hidden book, lost for centuries, that includes fallen angels, bloodthirsty giants, and a warning to all humanity. It is an ancient writing filled with divine secrets, dreams, and visions. A tour of heaven and hell, guided by the angel Uriel. The Book of Enoch is named for the man who the Holy Bible says walked with God.
Enoch walked with God after the birth of Methuselah 300 years, and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more, because God took him.
The book of Enoch is named for a man who's mentioned in one sentence in the book of Genesis. We only know one sentence worth of information about him. And yet, somebody stopped, paused on that name, and thought, Enoch. If he was taken up into heaven, what might he have seen?
It is a daunting manuscript. 5 volumes containing 108 chapters. For many ancient Christians, the Book of Enoch was essential. Yet it was banned from the Christian Bible.
We don't know why this literature was ultimately excluded from the canon. Perhaps it's because of its description of the fall of the rebel angels and their mating with mortals. Perhaps its understanding of the end of time fell out of favor with Jews and Christians.
The Book of Enoch begins with a warning to all humanity that a divine judgment has been rendered and a sentence will be imposed. God tells Enoch that all life on earth will be destroyed in a violent flood. And, as with the story in Genesis, God blames this evil on the sons of God, angels who lusted after the daughters of men.
These angels are sometimes referred to as watchers. They keep constant watch. And they decide one day, about 200 of them, that they're going to descend to the earth. They would like to very much make contact with these mortal women.
The Book of Enoch may have been an attempt to expand on the mysterious giants, the sons of God, and the daughters of the earth, spoken of in Genesis.
Anytime you read the book of Genesis, there are all kinds of unanswered questions. Suddenly, there is this quick few verses at the beginning of the flood story about giants in the land that come from the sons of God mixing with the daughters of the earth. And you stop and think, wait a minute, what's this all about? It's like it went by too fast. And you want to grab it and say, wait a minute, what was this?
The Book of Enoch offers a disturbing vision of the fall of the angels who lust after earthly women.
And they began to go into them, and to defile themselves with them, and they taught them charms and enchantments. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind.
That these angels have crossed over this boundary that they shouldn't have. They were spiritual beings, and they were to remain as such. When they decided to descend upon earth, this unleashed upon the earth all sorts of problems. Not only these giants who are bloodthirsty and violent, but also these angels went on to teach humankind a variety of forbidden crafts. They also taught human beings how to make weapons of war.
Now, the good angels, the ones not tempted by these beautiful women, go to God and say, you know, there's a lot of bloodshed caused by these bad angels. At which point God says we need to bind Azazel, the sort of lead fallen angel, to bind him and to then cast him into a pit. We might think of this as, how do we take care of nuclear waste in the 21st century? You take it out to a part of the world where no one lives, and you bury it as deep as you can. For this community, the angel was like that sort of nuclear waste. Dangerous, volatile,
After the rebel angels are cast into the depths of the earth, Enoch has a dream vision. The lead angel, Azazel, begs Enoch to plead their case before God, to petition the Almighty to release them from the depths of the earth. The request for clemency is denied.
This version of the fall of the angels was very popular in its day and maintained popularity for centuries to come. When we look at Dante's work on the Inferno, it's largely out of the material in Enoch. When we look at various snips of the New Testament, Enoch seems to be in play. In Corinthians, when Paul talks about women covering their hair so the angels won't be seduced and tempted, it goes back to the fallen angels tradition.
Another episode tells of Uriel, a powerful angel in charge of the stars, who becomes Enoch's guide through the heavenly realms.
Uriel's name, in fact, means God is my light. And whenever he is described, frequently in relation to God, he is situated to the east of God's throne. This is very interesting. Of course, the sun rises to the east. So this gets us thinking, Uriel, a figure associated with light, perhaps associated in some way with the sun, or the stars, or the idea of these heavenly bodies making their rotations daily.
And all these Uriel, the holy angel, who is the leader of them all, showed to me, and their positions, and I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me.
And so something is going on here with the stars. It may well be going back to the role of astrology and the study of stars in the Persian Empire that is now giving rise to this new awareness that constellations aren't just constellations of stars, they're constellations of power. And through this tour of heaven, Enoch gets the information, and he knows where the powers are, and to know where the powers are means that you have access to the power.
With its lush descriptions of heavenly powers and the horrors that await evildoers, even angels, Enoch was one of the most popular books among the early Christians.
We know that some early Christians considered the writings of Enoch to be authoritative, to contain actual revelation from God. So, because some people thought that, some influential people thought that, the book was used as you would use other books of the Bible.
After all, Revelation appears in the New Testament. But Enoch, for reasons that I think are fairly clear, was just considered a little too strange, a little too suspicious, a little too creative, perhaps, for the tradition. Having said that, there's no doubt that it was widely read and very popular.
Yet the Book of Enoch was denied a home in the official Christian canon. This imaginative tale fell into obscurity until the late 18th century, when a Scottish explorer named James Bruce came upon this mysterious text in Aksum, a city in the Ethiopian highlands.
Travelers to Ethiopia found manuscripts of these books and brought them back to Europe. This caused quite a sensation. I'm aware of scholarly reaction to them. People were excited about having these texts that we knew about only through allusion before this time, or a brief quotation. Whether this raised any questions in people's minds, canonical questions, should we put these books in the Bible? I'm not aware of really intense discussions of that sort.
Until the mid-20th century, the Book of Enoch was assumed to be of interest only to the very early Christians. We now know that Enoch was sacred to Ethiopian Christians all along.
Part of the reason why this probably became part of their canon is because of the mythic story of the foundation of the Ethiopian monarchy. You have Sheba, who goes to see King Solomon, and the story goes that not only does she bring gifts, she brings a little bit of something back home. She's pregnant with Solomon's son. That son is Menelik. Menelik is the first dynastic king of Ethiopia. He actually goes back and retrieves the Ark of the Covenant from Solomon because Solomon is not taking care of the kingdom properly. And the Ark rests reportedly in Aksum in Ethiopia. So when Christianity comes later in about the 4th century to Ethiopia, there's already a story there. There's already a connection to the Old Testament story. So the book of Enoch and all these other types of books that are included within the Ethiopian canon become part and parcel of putting together this Old Testament story, this Old Testament link, with a very new Christianity that enters into the Ethiopian. They don't give up the old. They put it all together with the new and blend it together.
Large portions of the Book of Enoch also were found among the Essene literature, hidden in the caves of Qumran, as part of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
What about when Joshua and the nation of Israel entered the land of Canaan? They were instructed to wipe out every man, woman, and child of certain tribes. I've talked to some people whose entire rejection of the Bible and God rests on this portion of the biblical text. This video is for those people. What no one ever mentions when recounting this issue is that according to the story itself, the tribes that they killed were non-human hybrids called the Nephilim, and they were huge. They had iron beds 13 feet long and 6 feet wide. It says that the Israelites were like grasshoppers in the sight of the Canaanites. These Nephilim were the offspring of very evil spiritual beings, and they were apparently the primary reason God sent the flood. Satan knew of the prophecies of one that would come to defeat him, and before any of the prophets came to expand on how this was to occur, all he knew at that point was that the Messiah would be a human. The Nephilim were an attempt to infiltrate the entire bloodline of humanity so that the Messiah could not be a full-blooded man. And if it weren't for Noah and his family, it would have worked. Then when Abraham found out from God that the land of Canaan was to be given to Abraham, Satan also found out. And he had over 400 years to plant this minefield of Nephilim in the land of Canaan in an attempt to thwart the plan of God. Genesis 6:4 tells us that the Nephilim were also on the earth after the flood, and it is them who Joshua was told to wipe out. Tribes such as the Rephaim, the Emim, the Horim, the Zamzummim were all giants. The kingdom of Og was the land of the giants. Later we also find Arba and Anak and his 7 sons, the Anakim, also giants, along with the famed Goliath and his 4 brothers.
The ancient Hebrews referred to the angels as B'nai Elohim, meaning the sons of God. The Bible reveals to us that these angels were present during the creation of the heavens and the earth. Although spiritual beings, they can take on the form of man. Like Jesus, when angels take on the form of flesh, they become subject to the flaws and temptations of the flesh. God sent 200 angels to earth. They descended upon Mount Hermon to teach man righteousness, but fell into sin like the original fallen ones who were cast out of heaven. These angels, like all angels, were distinct by creation, and so it was that they taught various arts to man. Samyaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear you will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall not pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then sware they all together and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it, and these are the names of their leaders. Arachiel, the angel of the earth, taught the science of nature. Kokabeel, the angel of stars, taught astrology, and Tamael taught the killing of the innocent in the womb. Azazel, another chief, fallen angel who was akin to Satan, taught men the art of warfare, the making of swords, knives, shields, and coats of mail, and women the art of deception by ornamenting the body, dyeing the hair, and painting the face and the eyebrows. He also revealed to the people the secrets of witchcraft and corrupted their manners, leading them into wickedness and impurity, until at last he was bound, at the Lord's command, hand and foot, by the archangel Raphael, and chained to the rough and jagged rocks of where he is to abide in utter darkness until the great day of judgment. The ancient fallen angels of the Old Testament subsequently produced a race of giants upon the earth. Tall in stature like the angels, they often stood anywhere between 10 to 30 feet in height. The Bible refers to the Nephilim most notably as Anakims, Amims, Rephaim, Avims, and Zamzumims. But God had chosen a shepherd boy by the name of David to slay the remnants of the giants, to wipe out the Nephilim from the face of the earth. The remains of these giants have been found on every continent all over the world. They are recorded and referred to by ancient Jewish sources, historians, early church fathers, native tribes, and ancient peoples. It was not until the 4th century when teachings of the fallen angels and Nephilim were abolished. There was a deviation that higher spiritual beings could not resist temptation, while monks were taking vows of celibacy. In a place called Baalbek, monolithic stone blocks can be seen. These structures are older than the Mayan and Inca temples and are so precisely fitted together. The trilithon stones are the largest solid stone blocks used in construction in the world, each weighing an estimated 1,375 tons. We have no modern-day crane or machinery that can lift anything near that weight. Thousands of these stones have been cut, quarried, and moved a mile away. Within the Baalbek ruins, many artifacts, grave sites, and tombs have been discovered as well. During the 1700s and 1900s in Europe and in the United States, the Smithsonian began massive excavations of great burial chambers. These numerous serpent mounds contained massive-sized skeleton remains of gigantic heights and proportions. Many of the burial remains contain artifacts, weapons, and armor. All throughout the world, in various countries and cultures, people have found similar burial sites. The origins of giants and beastly creatures are rooted from the fallen angels, but have been adopted and changed throughout the world's diverse cultures.
The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of all the earth, who never grows weak or weary. No one can measure the depths of his understanding. He gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. Even youth will become weak and tired, and young men will fall in exhaustion. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They'll soar high on wings like eagles. They'll run and not grow weary. They'll walk and not faint.
Angels are found throughout the Bible, during the Torah, and during the life of Jesus. In the Torah, or Old Testament, 2 classes of angels are named, seraphim and cherubim. St. Paul assigns additional ranks of angels. The 7 additional classes are angels, archangels, principalities, powers, virtues, dominions, and thrones. While some rankings work together in unison, some are separate and distinct. The angelic hierarchy can be compared to the church body. All are important and significant, and all work together to form the whole angelic body. In Judeo-Christian history, angels are a medium of God's power. They exist to execute God's will and carry out important tasks. They have revealed themselves to individuals as well as whole regions and nations of people, announcing news and coming events. Angels constitute God's court, sitting in the council with him. Hence they are called his council of the holy ones and the assembly of the saints. Psalm 89:7. The hosts or warring angelic angels are often present in the scriptures. In the prophetic books, angels appear as messengers bringing prophetic news to Israel or executing the will of God. It is written that they are formed by the breath of God and encompassed by light. Angels are attributed with light and are able to fly at tremendous speeds, being able to encircle the earth at the speed of light. They can travel around the earth 7.5 times in 1 second. Upon the coming destruction of Israel by the Assyrian army in the book of Kings, an angel enters the Syrian camp, killing 186,000 soldiers by morning. When angels take on the form of flesh, they become subject to the weaknesses of the flesh, like Jesus was when he became man. Most theologians agree that angels are technically genderless in their native spiritual form. However, angels are given masculine roles such as warrior and guardians, and so it follows that they are generally male-like in their fleshly form. However, there is a single reference to 2 female beings in Zechariah 5:9, in which 2 female angels are seen with wings like a stork, lifting a basket between heaven and earth. In Matthew, it states that angels are not given or taken in marriage. However, Jesus makes no mention of angels taking on the form of flesh. During Jesus' time, the book of Enoch and other ancient sources revealed the fallible nature of angels in the form of man. It was widely believed and known at the time that angels had paired with the daughters of man. In the book of Revelations, the number of angels is said to be 1,000 thousands and many tens of thousands. While there is no specific number mentioned or given, it is clear that there are an incredible amount of angelic hosts. The fallen angels account only for 1/3 of the entire host, and there are said to be other angels who fell from grace on Mount Hermon in the Old Testament. Some angels hold positions of high rank, but at the same time carry out tasks within lower rankings. In Judeo-Christian tradition, Michael is the angel referred to as who is like El, meaning one who is like God. Michael is viewed as the field commander of the army of God, or one of the chief prince angels. He is mentioned in the book of Daniel, the book of Jude, and the book of Revelations. In the book of Daniel, Michael appears as one of the chief princes, who in Daniel's vision comes to the angel Gabriel's aid in the clash of the fallen angel Debiel, the principality or power of Persia. The angel Gabriel mentioned in the book of Luke, Raphael, who is mentioned in the book of Tobit, and Uriel, who is mentioned in the book of Enoch, are all considered to be archangels. A chief fallen angel called Abaddon is mentioned in Revelation 17:8. He is also referred to as Apollyon in Greek and is said to reside in the abyss in the Euphrates River and Persian Gulf, where he and 3 other fallen angels will be released during the end times. Abaddon is referred to as an individual angel as well as a regional entity. His name means a place of destruction, which is associated to war, death, and devastation. He is described as the king of the bottomless pit, where he is currently bound till one of God's angels releases him. In the testimony of Solomon, Michael, the archangel, visits King Solomon and bestows upon him a ring of great power. The story goes that Solomon employs this ring to command Nephilim spirit demons in the building of the holy temple of Jerusalem. The ring of Sabaoth, or ring of the hosts, was able to cast out demons, control them, or even seize chief fallen angels. King Solomon is introduced as giving his experiences in meeting with the various demons, each of whom he asks their names as well as the name of the angel that can overpower them. Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael are considered by ancient Jewish sources as being the 4 seraphim standing in attendance at God's throne. Although they are the highest-ranking angels in the hierarchy, they also hold the title of being archangels. They are considered to be some of the highest-ranking remnant angels who have not sinned or had come into the daughters of man. There are several mysterious appearances of an angel referred to as the angel of the Lord. In the Testament of Solomon, many of the demon spirits reveal that they fear and flee at the sound and authority of an angel, which has the sum of 644 in his name. In Exodus it is written, "Behold, I send an angel before thee, to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him." Exodus 23:20-21. On one occasion, in Judges, the angel of the Lord appears to Samson's mother and gives news that she will bear a son, even though she has been barren and unable to conceive. They ask the angel his name so that they can offer thanks, but the angel says, "Why do you want to know my name? For it is a secret." The word used here translates to one found in Isaiah 9:6. His name shall be called Wonderful. The captain of the host is none other than Jesus. The seraphs or seraphim are generally accepted to be the highest order of God's angelic servants. They stand by God's throne chanting, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." Isaiah 6:3. Seraphim serve as the caretakers of God's throne. The name seraphim means the burning ones. They are beings of pure light and thought and have direct communication with God. They resonate with fire and love and are described as having 6 wings and 4 heads of different animals. Metatron, Lucifer, Chamiel, Nathaniel, Gabriel, and Seraphiel are all thought to be seraphim. Metatron is thought to be the transformed Enoch, and Xenophon the transformed Elijah, according to ancient oral tradition. Seraphiel is described as an enormous, brilliant angel, as tall as the 7 heavens. He is beautiful like lightning, and is a chief of the seraphim. He is committed to their care and teaches them songs to sing for the glorification of God. Certain passages also refer to the seraphim as fiery flying serpents. Serpent in Hebrew is associated to meaning charming or wise, unlike the snake in our modern culture. In Isaiah 6:2 it is written, "Each of them had 6 wings, with 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his legs, and with 2 he would fly." Another interpretation is that the word comes from Rapha, meaning healer, and Ser, meaning higher being. There is much confusion in the ranks of angels. Some of the seraphim are considered archangels, even though the archangels are ranked 6 orders below that of the seraphim. Cherubim are considered the elect beings for the purpose of protection and guardianship. In Genesis 3:24 it says that God placed on the east side of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. The Hebrew word cherub is translated by some scholars as one who intercedes, and by others as knowledge. They are said to have 4 wings and 4 faces. Exodus 25 talks of how the ark was to be decorated with a cherubim, while 1 Samuel 4:4 says the Lord is enthroned between the cherubim. Thrones are living symbols of God's justice and authority, and are beings of tremendous power and movement. Thrones are known in Scripture as the bearers of justice. They are assigned and associated to planets and the channeling of energy of God throughout the universe. This position makes them some of the most powerful angels in the service of the Lord. Like their counterparts in the second angelic triad, they come the closest to all angels to spiritual perfection, and emanate the light of God with mirror-like goodness. They, despite their greatness, are said to be intensely humble, an attribute that allows them to dispense justice with perfect objectivity and without fear or pride or ambition. Because they are living symbols of God's justice and authority, they are sometimes personified as the chariots of God. The thrones are said to reside in either the 3rd or 4th heaven. Dominions are said to regulate angelic duties. The Greek name Kuriotis translates to lordships. They are also known as the Hashmalim, those who hold the task of regulating the duties of the lower angels. They rarely make themselves physically present to man, and they are also the angels who preside over nations. The dominions are believed to look like beautiful human beings with a single pair of feathered wings. They may be distinguished from other groups by wielding orbs of light fastened to their heads of their scepters or on the pommel of their swords. They have been ascribed to be located in the 2nd heaven. The virtues or strongholds are angelic beings who bestow blessings in the world. They are angels of great power and are said to ensure the cosmos remains in order. They are associated with heroes and instill courage and are known as the brilliant or shining ones. They are said to have escorted Christ to heaven during the Ascension. The powers are said to be the first angels created by God, and are said to reside along the border between the 1st and 2nd heavens. Their job is to guard against demonic powers and to oversee the distribution of power among mankind in hopes that the bad will not overpower the good. They are warrior angels created to be completely loyal to God. However, some believe that many powers have fallen from grace. Some sources indicate that the angel Chamiel was believed to be the leader of the powers, but later fell from grace. Chamiel is also said to have been one of the 7 angels who stand in the presence of God. Legends surrounding Chamiel claim that he wrestled with Jacob and even tried to prevent Moses from receiving the Torah. The principalities are those angels who are in charge of nations and great cities on earth. Later they became the protectors of religious denominations. Another possible chief is Enoch, who was one of the 7 angels of creation. He is associated with human sexuality and is also the governor of the 2nd heaven. In Jewish and Christian sources there are 7 archangels. All agree on Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. The other 3 are either Metatron, Ramiel, Seriel, Enel, Raguel, or Raziel. These angels are said to be the most important intercessories between God and humans, and they are also in constant battle with the sons of darkness. Michael is the only angel in the Bible named expressly as the archangel. In Daniel he is referred to as one of the chief princes. Another possible interpretation of the 7 archangels is that the 7 are the 7 spirits of God that stand before the throne described in the book of Enoch and in the book of Revelations. The last order of the hierarchy is that of the angels. The Hebrew term for angel, malak, means a messenger, and in the Persian, angros, which means courier. They are intermediaries between God and human mortals, often assigned as personal or guardian angels. They concern themselves with the affairs of living things and man. They have varied tasks and duties which encompass their role. Angels are also believed to carry words of knowledge that foretell prophetic and unknown things of divine nature. Jews and Christians believe in a war that was predicted by the prophet Ezekiel. The story of Gog and Magog is a vision that took place in the book of Ezekiel and Revelations. Scholars believe that this second appearance in Revelations is a contradiction or a mix-up of biblical timeframes. However, the reference of battle of Gog and Magog in Revelations is not a contradiction, but a prophecy. Gog appears in Ezekiel before the tribulations and almost 1,000 years later during the millennial reign of Jesus. The one known as the chief of Eshkatebal is shrouded in mystery. However, to understand who or what this entity is, we must look at other ancient sources. The first recorded alphabet is in the Sumerian language. It has a word similar to Gog, but is pronounced Gug. Gug translates to darkness. As it is applied to the invader of Magog, it becomes apparent that this entity is a chief fallen angel. This invasion will take place in northern Israel along the golden border of Mount Hermon, where the famous Nephilim king Og is said to have inhabited. In Ezekiel, 5 clues are given to how and when the battle will take place in his first appearance. The prophecy of Gog is about a spirit that will be loosed in the end times, similar to that of the 4 fallen princes that are bound in the Euphrates River. He is said to be like the king of the north, perhaps ruling in the northern region of Turkey or Russia. Together, the angelic beings have been a source of blessings and curses, carrying out the will of God and sometimes falling from grace. God allowed us to choose right from wrong, life from death, to love or follow Him, or to hate and reject Him. It began with Lucifer in the Garden of Eden appearing as a brilliant, charming angel of light, and we fell into sin, tainting the world that God had made for us. But yet God was not done. He sent someone, one who is mighty to save, who forever is the author of salvation, who died for us, rose again, and conquered the grave. The angels looked upon God's work with approval and joyous praise, the angelic host almost an infinite amount, equivalent to the stars in all the heavens. Instruments of God, they have been shrouded in mystery and intrigue. The Jewish teachers of law prohibited the incantations and prayers to the angels. As a medium of God's power and not our own, man should call directly upon the name of the Lord and no other. They sit in the Council of Jubilation, where Jewish tradition teaches if 999 vote for conviction and only 1 for acquittal, God decides in favor of man. According to Job, the angels have a moral sense but fall short of God's spiritual perfection. Their food is manna, the bread of the mighty, and although they eat heavenly bread, they are also immaterial and not being subject to the limitations of time, space, and their native spiritual form. They can assume a physical form or body if it falls in the nature of their mission, just like Jesus did when he became man. Angels can take flight at any moment and become invisible at any time. Often they appear as brilliant flaming creatures or as fiery flying serpents. The term serpent signifies as wise, charming, brilliant, and beautiful, unlike the snake portrayed in the Garden of Eden story. Angels are powerful and dreadful, endowed with wisdom and with knowledge of all earthly things, correct in their judgment, holy but not infallible. Angels are almost always male and are referred to as the sons of God. However, Zechariah 5:9 is the only reference to 2 female angels, in which 2 female beings are seen with wings of crane. When appearing to man, angels are usually seen to be about 10 or so feet in height, and this varies substantially. An angel named Xenophon is said to be taller than his fellow by the height of a journey of 500 years, and is said to reach heaven if standing on the earth. Other angels, although awesome in size, do not manifest themselves in such a manner as to be sensible in their interactions and tasks laid before them. Although angels are the essence of fire, they are also thought to be equally natured in water, God making peace between the 2 elements in perfect harmony. In rabbinical and biblical history, angels have been associated with force elements of nature. There are angels over winds, fire, water, and even ones resembling eagles, lions, and various animals. Jewish teaching always identifies angels as wearing a breastplate or tablet inscribed with the name of God on their chest. Many of the ancient myths and legends of minotaurs, winged creatures, and supernatural beings can be traced back to Jewish and ancient biblical history. However, these myths and legends are a deviation from the true occurrences of ancient biblical times. Although they are steadfast in their commitment to God, they are nonetheless fallible. These angels are said to have fallen from grace, or referred to as losing their first estate. 2 are said to have been expelled from heaven for 138 years on account of prematurely disclosing the decree of Sodom's destruction, according to the ancient Jewish mysticism. The angels in many aspects are inferior to man. Enoch intercedes on behalf of the angels instead of having them intercede for him, and none of the angels could see what he saw on the account of God's glory. According to Enoch and extra-biblical sources, there are 7 archangels or chief princes of God's presence. This means that they are permitted in God's direct presence. Raguel is said to stretch his wings out over the throne and shield the ministering angels from the consuming fire of God and the higher angels. The 7 angels of the presence of the throne of God are described primarily as Uriel, Raphael, Raguel, Michael, Sariel, and Jeremiel. Michael, named as the 4th out of the 7, is first in rank. As leader, he is probably meant to stand in the middle as a chief ruling prince. On the other hand, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel are introduced as the 4 angels of the face of the Lord. In Enoch, these 4 archangels stand near the crystal throne of God, each surrounding him on all 4 sides. The Book of Daniel was the first account of individualized angelic names and titles. At the advent of these attributes, angels became personalized, distinct, and known generally to the community at large. The celestial city of New Jerusalem, located in heaven, is said to contain a sanctuary where Michael is said to stand in position. Like a high priest on earth, he offers up praises to God. Michael is also said to have been present at the building of the Tower of Babel, where he and a few other angels decided to confuse man's speech. This detailed account of the Tower of Babel prevails all over the world, including ancient China, where the ancient Chinese culture developed their typography, historical, biblical creation, the flood, and the coming of Jesus. Whenever Michael appears on earth, he is accompanied by Gabriel and is said to bring Shekinah glory, or the holy presence of God. Gabriel, another well-known archangel, is known as the Prince of Ripening Fruit. According to the Midrash, he is also known as Gabriel the Mightiest, showing Moses how to fashion a candlestick. Gabriel is attributed to gold, the color of fire, while Michael and Uriel are attributed to silver and copper. Gabriel has wings like the other angels, but while Michael reaches the earth in one flight, Gabriel is said to require 2. Raphael is one of the 7 who stand before the Lord and is known as the angel of healing. According to the Talmud, he appears with Michael and Gabriel healing Abraham after circumcision. He is the first mentioned in the Apocrypha, and is the angel who bound up Azazel, the fallen angel who took upon himself the daughters of man. Azazel fell from grace and taught mankind the art of warfare, witchcraft, and deception. According to the Testament of Solomon, Raphael overpowers and frustrates many of the dead Nephilim spirits, now known as demons, who seek to inhabit and possess human bodies. Raphael is identified with the element of earth and rainbows, who is also ordained over the 4 heavenly rivers coming from the throne. Uriel, who is one of the 4 angels who stand in attendance before God, is associated with the eagle, lion, and is said to be the angel over thunder and earthquakes and the abyss. According to the Torah, his name means fire or light of God. He is placed over repentance, hope, and eternal life. As a chief prince, he intercepts the accusations and persecutions of Satan and aided John the Baptist from Herod during the massacre of the innocents. In the Midrash, Uriel is identified as being the bringer of light to mankind. Uriel guides Enoch on a journey of the upper heavens and also prays to God to end the violence and corruption of the Nephilim in ancient times. In the Old Testament biblical writings, there is a term which signifies the messenger of the Lord or captain of the host. This occurs singularly in the Hebrew and denotes a special self-manifestation of God. The angel or messenger says, "I am God of Bethel," and the same appearance is the same distinction as the burning bush that appeared to Moses. At times, this identity appearing in human form clearly distinguishes himself from the Lord who sends him. This appearance is the manifestation of God in the flesh, the Messiah Jesus Christ, who the Jewish tradition does not affirm or recognize. The manuscript and revelation of Moses is an account in which he travels up through the clouds and into the heavens on a celestial journey. Upon his arrival, the angels ask God, "What does this man born of a woman desire?" God replies he is to receive the Torah, in which the angels disapprove. When Moses went up into the cloud of heaven, Chemiel, the janitor of the first gate, with 12,000 angels of destruction under him, went to strike him, but succumbed. As he arrived at the second gate, Hadraniel, who exceeded the former 600 parasangs in length, came with his darts of fire to smite him, but God interfered. Finally, he came to the precincts of Sandalphon, the angel who towers above the rest by the length of 600 years' journey, and when standing on the earth reaches his head up to the heavens. Standing behind the heavenly chariot, he weaves crowns for the Most High, while all the host of heaven sing praise. Then Moses came to the stream of fire, which consumes even the angels, and God caused him to pass through unscathed. Next came Raziel. The wings of Raziel are spread out like a curtain, and keep off the breath of the holy creatures, for otherwise all the ministering angels would be burnt by them. Michael, the great prince, is seen standing at the right side of the throne, along with Gabriel on the left. Metatron is seen standing at the door of the palace of God. And at last, a troop of terrible angels could be seen encircling the throne of God. They were more powerful and mighty than all of the other angels. All of these angels wished to strike down Moses by the breath of their mouths, but out of the fear of the mighty, the King of Kings, they had no power to injure him, for they were all full of fear before the Lord. Throughout time, God has used the angels as ministers to bring counsel, healing, and good news. After Jesus' death on the cross, God sent us the Holy Spirit to minister to us and to dwell within us. The fallen angels and demonic spirits frequently have used the guise of holy angelic beings to sway and lead man away from God. They have sought to reveal all sorts of false religions and New Age philosophies, corrupting man and perverting the truth. No other name given under heaven saves. Repent and trust in Jesus alone for your salvation. And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them, and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds, and beasts, and reptiles, and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and drink the blood. And I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord with majesty and the King of the ages. And lo, the watchers called me, Enoch the scribe, and they besought me to draw up a petition for them, that they might find forgiveness. I saw in my sleep that I will now say with a tongue of flesh, and with the breath of my mouth. I wrote out your petition, and in my vision it appeared thus, that your petition will not be granted unto you throughout all the days of eternity, and that judgment has been finally passed upon you. And the vision caused me to fly, and lifted me upward, and bore me into heaven. And I went into tongues of fire, and drew nigh to a large house which was built of crystals. And the walls of the house were like a tessellated floor made of crystals, and its groundwork was of crystals. Its ceilings was like the path of the stars, and the lightnings, and between them were fiery cherubim, and their heaven was clear as water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its portals blazed with fire. And the Lord called me with his own mouth, and said to me, Come hither, Enoch, and hear my word. And I heard his voice, Fear not, Enoch, thou righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Approach hither, and hear thy voice. And go, say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent thee to intercede for them, You should intercede for men, and not men for you. Wherefore have you left the high, holy, and eternal high, and lain with women, and defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and taken to yourselves wives, and done like the children of earth, and begotten giants as your sons? And now the giants who are produced from the spirits of flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall their dwelling be. Uriel said to me, Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits assuming many different forms are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. And I, Enoch, alone saw the vision, the ends of all kinds, and no man shall see as I have seen. Then Raphael answered, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said unto me, These holy places have been created for this very purpose, and the spirits of the souls of the dead should assemble therein. Ye, that all the souls of the children of men should assemble here, and these places have been made to receive them till the day of their judgment, until their appointed period. And from thence I went to another place, and he showed me a mountain range of fire which burnt day and night. And the seventh mountain was in the midst of these, and it excelled them in height, resembling the seat of the throne. And fragrant trees encircled the throne, and amongst them was a tree such as I had never yet smelt. Neither was any amongst them, nor were others like it. It had a fragrance beyond all fragrance, and its fruit is beautiful. Then I said, How beautiful is this tree, and fragrant, and its leaves are fair, and its blooms very delightful in appearance. Then answered Michael, one of the holy honored angels, who was with me, and was their leader, This high mountain, which thou hast seen, whose summit is like the throne of God, his throne, where the Holy Great One, the Lord of glory, the eternal King, will sit, when he shall come down to visit the earth with goodness. And as for this fragrant tree, no mortal is permitted to touch it till the great judgment. And I came to the garden of righteousness. I said, How beautiful is this tree, and how attractive is its look. Then Raphael, the holy angel who was with me, answered, and said, This is the tree of wisdom, of which thy father old, and thy aged mother, who were before thee, have eaten, and they learnt wisdom, and their eyes were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven out of the garden. And after that I saw thousands of thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000s. I saw a multitude, beyond number and reckoning, who stood before the Lord of spirits. And on the four sides of the Lord of spirits I saw four presences, different from those that sleep not. And I learned their names, for the angel that went with me made known to me their names, and showed me all the hidden things. And I heard the voices of those whose presences are as they uttered praises before the Lord of glory. The first voices, Blesses the Lord of spirits, forever and ever. And the second voice I heard blessing the elect one, and the elect ones who hang upon the Lord of spirits. And the third voice I heard pray and intercede for those who dwell on the earth, and supplicate in the name of the Lord of the spirits. And I heard the fourth voice fending off the Satans, and forbidding them to come before the Lord of spirits, to accuse them who dwell on the earth. After that I asked the angel of peace who went with me, who showed me everything that is hidden, Who are these four presences which I have seen, and those words I have heard and written down? And he said to me, This first is Michael, the merciful, the long-suffering, and the second, who is set over all the diseases and all the wounds of the children of men, is Raphael. And the third, who is set over all the powers, is Gabriel. And the fourth, who is set over repentance unto hope of those who inherit eternal life, is named Uriel. And these are the four angels of the Lord of spirits, and the four voices I heard in those days. And after that I saw all the secrets of heaven, and how the kingdom is divided, and how the actions of men are weighed in the balance. and there I saw the mansions of the elect, and the mansions of the holy, and mine eye saw there all the sinners being driven from thence, which deny the name of the Lord of spirits. And there I saw one who had the head of days, and his head was white like wool. And with him was another being whose countenance had the appearance of a man, and his face was full of graciousness, like one of the holy angels. And I asked the angel who went with me, and showed me all the hidden things concerning that Son of Man. Who was he, and whence he was, and why he went with the head of days? And he answered and said to me, This is the Son of Man, who hath righteousness, with whom dwelleth righteousness, and who revealeth all the treasures of that which is hidden. And this Son of Man, whom thou hast seen, shall rise up the kings and the mighty from their seats, and the strong from their thrones, and shall loosen the reins of the strong, and break the teeth of the sinners. And in that place I saw the fountain of righteousness, which was inexhaustible, and around it were many fountains of wisdom, and all the thirsty drank of them, and were filled with wisdom. And their dwellings were with righteousness, and holy and elect. And at that hour that Son of Man was named in the presence of the Lord of spirits, and his name before the head of days. Yea, before the sun and signs were created, before the stars of heaven were made, his name was named before the Lord of spirits. He shall be a staff to the righteousness, whereon to stay themselves and not fall. And he shall be the light of the Gentiles, and the hope of those who are troubled of heart. All who dwell on the earth shall fall down and worship him, and will praise and bless and celebrate with song the Lord of spirits. And for this reason hath he had been chosen and hidden before him, before the creation of the world, and forevermore. And the wisdom of the Lord of spirits hath revealed him to the holy and righteous. For he hath preserved the lot of the righteous, because they have hated and despised this world of unrighteousness, and have hated all its works and ways in the name of the Lord of spirits. For in his name they are saved. And the Lord of spirits will have compassion on them, for his compassion is great, and he is righteous also in his judgment. And in those days shall the earth also give back that which has been entrusted to it, and Sheol also shall give back that which it has received, and hell shall give back that which it owes. For in those days the elect one shall rise, and he shall choose the righteous and holy from among them. For the day has drawn nigh that they should be saved, and the elect one shall in those days sit on my throne, and his mouth shall pour forth all the secrets of wisdom and counsel. For the Lord of spirits hath given them to him, and hath glorified him. And in those days shall the mountains leap like rams, and the hills also shall skip like lambs satisfied with milk. And the faces of all the angels in heaven shall be lighted up with joy. And in the earth shall rejoice, and the righteous shall dwell upon it, and the elect shall walk thereon. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go into them, and defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bore great giants. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets, and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of eyelids, and all kinds of costly stone, and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication and they were led astray, and they became corrupt in all their ways. Semyaza taught enchantments and root cuttings. Amoros, the resolving of enchantments. Barachiel taught astrology. Kokabel, the constellations. Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds, and Rachiel, the signs of the earth. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said to the Lord of ages, Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings, and God of the ages, the throne of thy glory standeth unto all the generations of the ages, and thy name holy and glorious and blessed unto all the ages. Thou seest what Azazel hath done, and hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn. And Semyaza, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates, and they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sins. And the women have borne giants, and the whole earth has thereby been filled with blood and unrighteousness. Then the Most High, the Holy and Great One, spoke, and sent Uriel, and said to him, Go to Noah, and tell him in my name, hide thyself, and reveal to him the end is approaching, and that the whole earth will be destroyed, and a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth, and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all generations of the world. And again the Lord said to Raphael, Bind Azazel, hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert, which is in Dudael, and cast him therein, and place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face, that he may not see light. And on the day of great judgment he shall be cast into the fire, and heal the earth which the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, and they may heal the plague, and that all the children of men may not perish through all the secret things that the watchers have disclosed, and have taught their sons. And to Gabriel said the Lord, Proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of the watchers from amongst them, and send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. For length of days shall they not have, and no request that they make of thee shall be granted unto their fathers on their behalf, for they hope to live an eternal life, and that each one of them will live 500 years. And the Lord said unto Michael, Go bind Semyaza and his associates, who have united themselves with women, so as to have defiled themselves with them, and all their uncleanliness. And when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations, in the valleys of the earth, till the day of their judgment and their consummation. In those days they shall be led off to the abyss of fire, and to the torment, and to the prison in which they shall be confined forever. And whoever so shall be condemned and destroyed will form henceforth, be bound together with them, and to the end of all generations, and destroy all the spirits of the reprobate, and the children of the watchers, because they have wronged mankind. Destroy all wrong from the face of the earth, and let every weak work come to an end, and let the plant of righteousness and truth appear, and it shall prove a blessing. The works of righteousness and truth shall be planted in truth, and joy forevermore. And they took and brought me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire, and when they wished, they appeared as men. And I proceeded and saw a great place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, one of pearl and one of jacinth, and those towards the south of red stone. But the middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God of alabaster, and the summit of the throne was of sapphire. And I saw a flaming fire, and I saw the deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall. And beyond that abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of the heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water upon it, and no birds, but it was a waste and a horrible place. I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains, and to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven, and the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. And Uriel said to me, Here shall they stand, the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits assuming many different forms are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand till the day of great judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are made of an end. And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens, and I, Enoch, alone saw the vision, the ends of all things, and no man shall see as I have seen. And these are the names of the holy angels who watch: Uriel, one of the holy angels who was over the world and over Tartarus; Raphael, one of the holy angels who was over the spirits of men; Raguel, one of the holy angels who takes vengeance on the world of the luminaries; Michael, one of the holy angels, to wit, he that is set over the best part of mankind and over chaos; Serachiel, one of the holy angels who was set over the spirits who sin in the spirit; Gabriel, one of the holy angels who was over paradise and the serpents and the cherubim; Remiel, one of the holy angels whom God set over those who rise. From thence I went to another place to the west and the ends of the earth, and I saw a burning fire which ran without resting. I asked, saying, What is this which rests not? Then Raguel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered me, and said unto me, This course of fire which thou hast seen is the fire in which the west persecutes all luminaries of heaven. And I went from thence to the middle of the earth, and I saw a blessed place in which there were trees, with branches abiding and blooming, and between them a deep and narrow ravine. And all the ravines were deep and narrow, of hard rock, and trees were not planted upon them. Then said I, For what object is this blessed land, which is entirely filled with trees, and this accursed valley between? Then Uriel answered and said, This accursed valley is for those who are cursed forever. Here shall all the accursed be gathered together, who utter with their lips against the Lord unseemly words, and of his glory speak hard things. Here shall they be gathered together, and here shall be the place of their judgment. In the last days there shall be upon them the spectacle of righteous judgment, in the presence of righteous forever. And from thence I went to the south, to the ends of the earth, and saw there 3 open portals of the heaven, and hence there came dew, rain, and wind. And from thence I went to the east, to the ends of the heaven, and saw here the 3 eastern portals of heaven, open, and small portals above them. Through each of these small portals pass the stars of heaven, and run their course to the west, on the path which is shown to them. And I looked, and turned to another part of the earth, and saw there a deep valley with burning fire. And I asked the angel of peace who went with me, saying, For whom are these chains being prepared? And he had said unto me, These are being prepared for the hosts of Azazel, so that they may take them and cast them into the abyss of complete condemnation. And Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Phanuel shall take hold of them on that great day, and cast them on the day into the burning furnace. And the Lord of spirits may take vengeance on them for their unrighteousness in becoming subject to Satan, and leading astray those who dwell on the earth. And in those days shall punishment come from the Lord of spirits, and he will open all the chambers of waters which are above the heavens, and of the fountains which are beneath the earth. And all the waters shall be joined with the waters, that which is above the end, the waters which is beneath. And they shall be destroyed, all who dwell on the earth, and those who dwell under the ends of heaven. And when they have recognized their unrighteousness, which they have wrought on the earth, then by these shall they perish. Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. I now establish my covenant with you, and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals. all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth. I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood.
Maha amanindi. Matinda undi hue ana arth koste. Chaya. Laite na shalaba lehim biati.
Then I heard the angels chanting, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of His glory. I saw on 4 sides of the Lord of Spirits 4 presences different from those that sleep not, and I heard the voice of those 4 presences as they gave glory before the Lord. The first, Michael, merciful and long-suffering, blesses the Lord of Spirits forever and ever. The second, Raphael, set over the diseases of children of men, blesses the elect one, the Messiah, and the elect ones who cleave to the Lord of Spirits. The third, Gabriel, set over all the powers, intercedes on behalf of the inhabitants of the earth. And the fourth, Uriel, set over repentance and hope of eternal life, prevents the Satans from accusing men. These 4 stand near the crystal throne of God, which is encircled by flaming fire, seraphim, cherubim, and Ophanim. These beings are referred to as those that sleep not, and guard the throne of His glory. But above all these angels is seated the Most High, the Lord of glory, and seated at His right hand, the elect one. According to ancient texts and rabbinical traditions as handed down by Rabbi Meir of the 2nd century, Enoch is taken up into the heavenly realms by 2 angels of fiery appearance. He sees the 3rd heaven and the sun and the stars, and the former surrounded by phoenixes and other winged creatures, and attended by 15,000 angels, who take off his crown each evening to bring it to the Lord, and set it upon his head again each morning. In the 4th heaven he sees hosts of angels, armed for judgment, while serving God with cymbals and singing. In the 5th he sees the watchers, 4 orders, in grief over their fallen fellow angels, but still singing. In the 6th heaven, legions of angels more resplendent than the sun, the archangels set over the sun, the stars, the seasons, the rivers, the vegetation, the living things, and the souls of men, with 7 phoenixes, seraphim, cherubim, and 7 6-winged creatures in the midst of them, sing with one voice, indescribably beautiful, while rejoicing before the Lord. And finally, in the 7th heaven, I saw a very great light, and all the fiery hosts of great archangels, and incorporeal powers and lordships and principalities and dominions, cherubim and seraphim, thrones and the watchfulness of many eyes, 10 troops according to their rank. Day and night without ceasing they sing, Holy, 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 Lord God of Sabaoth, heaven and earth are full of Thy glory. This is the Erebot where I saw the face of the Lord like iron, burnt in the fire emitting sparks, wonderful beyond words, and the great throne of the Lord, not made by hands, and hosts of cherubim and seraphim surround Him. According to the Talmud, there are 7 heavens, one placed above the other, and ruled over by angelic chief princes: Kemuel, Jochiel, Raphael, Ophaniel, Cherubiel, Zedkiel, Gabriel, Sabriel, Zephaniel, Hashmal, Uziel, Hophniel, and Michael. These 10 archangels are believed to be the first chief princes that were created, and Metatron is believed to be appointed over them, who is also said to be to transform Enoch from flesh and blood into flaming fire. The fall of the angels is known to have been led by Satan. From Babylonian mythology, he is also known as Lucifer, as the main adversary against the holy and righteous God. He is described and attributed to many characteristics and names, like the Prince of Power of the Air, a reference to the dominion he has over the evil spirits who are permitted to go forth throughout the regions of the earth's atmosphere and space. In time, these angels who were cast out of heaven for their defiance against God turn their eyes on mankind. And I saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning. Some angels came down to teach mankind righteousness, but instead fell from grace as a result of their sinful pleasures of the flesh. These fallen angels became the hosts of giant Nephilim, who were of immense stature and terror. The Nephilim would eventually be wiped out by the flood, and a second time by King David and his mighty men. The giant beings known as the Nephilim became wandering evil spirits and the seducers of mankind. In Hebrew, they are called the Rephaim, and are mentioned many times in the Bible. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men of old, men of renown. Genesis 6:4. The earth was filled with great terror and evil, and the blood of man cried out from the graves. The fallen angels would finally come under confinement by the power of heaven. Captured and punished by the archangel Raphael, Azazel was one of the leaders of the population of the Nephilim. He was the chief debaucher of women. His place of punishment was in Jerusalem, by the rocks of Beth Hadudah, where scapegoats were also offered for atonement. The second rebel leader alongside Azazel was Samyaza. They assembled on Mount Hermon. They had 10 generals under them, with 100 angels each at their command. These angels made an oath in defiance against the God of heaven, and they took upon themselves the daughters of man. The punishment they received at the hands of Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel did not completely annihilate them. Samyaza and Azazel are believed to still have revealed secrets of heaven to King Solomon, while even more angels would later betray divine secrets heard from behind the curtain of heaven. As a result, fallen angels were expelled from their positions in heaven and bound in the abyss. In modern times, occultists like Aleister Crowley have opened supposed spiritual portals or stargates, releasing certain powers and deceptive spirits. Many believe that these portals have released demonic and evil influences within hell. As such, the being who came forth out of the portal that Aleister Crowley opened called himself Lamb, resembling an extraterrestrial being. Angels throughout the ages have taught mankind truth and righteousness. Prince Michael, the archangel, instructed Adam and Seth in the ways of agriculture. He also guided Enoch in the mysteries of the unseen world alongside Uriel and Raziel. Raphael revealed the healing power of herbs to Noah, while Suriel, the angel of the face, taught Abraham the language of creation and revelation, allowing him to study the writings of the first fathers. Gabriel taught all of the 70 languages he knew to Joseph, while Moses received divine knowledge from the angel Yephaphia, or the angel of divine beauty. Occasionally, the angelic beings of heaven gather in joyous interest to listen to a sage of great wisdom and knowledge, while at other times they resent man for the revelation of knowledge of heavenly mysteries. Thus, they sought to dissuade the Most High from giving the law to Moses. However, Moses pacified them by his swift, wise arguments, sparking great favor amongst the heavenly host. In a similar position, the angel sought to drive Jacob from paradise, until God interceded, saying, "Leave this venerable sage unscathed, for he is worthy to make use of my glory." The angelic host placed over judgment are fierce and powerful. Moses described them as a terrible troop of angels, more powerful than all of the other angels. They are described further from God's vocation, thus affording man the opportunity to repent and turn away from their sin. They are described in the Testament of Abraham as slinging the souls of the wicked and are under the leadership of 7 chief princes, which are under the angel of death. Other angels attributed to destruction are Cushiel, the rigid one of God, Nathaniel, the flaming one, Shoftiel, the judge of God, Makatiel, the plague of God, Hutriel, the rod of God, and Rogziel, the wrath of God. Writers of the Talmud and the rabbinical teachers of law were inclined to individualize the angels and assign distinctive characteristics, positions, and rankings. This was influenced by the breastplate tablets, which are said to be worn by the angelic hosts, in which their names appear alongside God's. Ancient Hebrews commonly gave a testimony to their children before their death, and this tradition has been captured in ancient oral traditions like the fragments of the 12 patriarchs. Other fragments and manuscripts are often pseudographical, being written by a close pupil or family member. While much of oral tradition and extra-biblical texts are not inspired canon like the Bible, they often affirm biblical theology and add additional understanding to the mysteries of heaven and God.